1973, born, Salford, dad left, primary school, computer games, role-playing games, class clown, no qualifications, shop boy, BMX bikes, girls, chalet cleaner, night clubbing, pothead, more girls, games, journalist, dad, shot at, moved away, depressed, dole, more pot, shop manager, blag CV, head of marketing, dole, director, Oxford sucked, dole, 3 days away from bankruptcy, father again, depressed, masonette over a chippy, married, employed, shove job up arse, self-employed, depression, skint, whinging wife, author, dad again, stopped smoking pot, founded 4Networking, bluffing, struggling, speaking, still, skint, dad, 5,000 plus 4Networking events a year, keynote speaker, bought dream Range Rover, still waiting to be found out, sold dream Range Rover, author again, people are buying them, highest reviewed 5-star Amazon business author, scratches head, burned out, near divorce, crisis averted, just, snapped up by top publisher, UK's #1 motivational speaker, still waiting to be found out.
You know, that's funny because my life flashed before me then. It's amazing. You know, anyone can do that with their own life. Actually do it. It's pretty really good exercise actually for your audience. To write 150 words that would describe to anyone. That, when you're saying that then, hearing that back, and they're my words, right?
Yeah.
Just mind blowing to think that was my life. And actually you look at any of those forks in the road where I could have stayed where I was, but somewhere along the way, the road to success is littered with, you know, with just problems and trouble, and actually you've got to keep going. But that comes down to your why and where your destination is, which is what I've sort of kind of sussed out right now. You know, my destination, I don't know if you want to get to it now, but my destination is wanting to be happy. Because that's what people, every single person who's watching this right now wants to be happy. Right? They might say they want a new car, they want this, that and the other, but ultimately it all boils down to them wanting happiness. And I think I found it for the first time in my life at 41, 42 in another week's time. You've nailed it, what I stand for,
yeah.
which is the underdog. I fight for the underdog every single time. I fight for the underdog, but ultimately the underdog needs to fight for itself, because, you know, this is the thing, I can't do your press-ups for you, and I say this to all these people, and there's lots of questions that you get in there about people saying, hey, guess what, how do you motivate, you know, isn't it short-lived? Well, yes, it is, but it's down to you. And it's got to come from within, and this is what happened with me. I switched that on. I switched it on what my target was, where I was going, because without that, we just meander. Ultimately, it boils down to belief, right? It boils down to belief. If you have got 100% belief in everything that you do, you know, you wouldn't say you're going to be unstoppable. But the point I'm trying to make is this: I was so self-unaware. It's scary. You know, I mean, I said to you before that this is holding me back. Normally I'd be away, but somebody said to me, you know, you don't realise what, and what do you mean? He said, you are different sort of gear to most normal people in terms of the way you think and the way you move and the decisions you make and the speed of decisions you make. And I think that's been quite crucial for me to understand that I am a bit of a nut job, but that nuttiness and that unwavering self-belief, which is sometimes misguided, has served me. We were talking before about UFC and fighters. Gee whiz, think about it. You know, fighters, all they've got, yes, they've done the training, but ultimately it's belief. And when you start getting whacked in the face, you need something more than your training to have a reason to get up. Brock Lesnar, the biggest, toughest, meanest guy ever. Wow, boy, look at him, he's a powerhouse. And actually, you know, you could be scared to death of the fight that you've got no chance versus him. Then all of a sudden he gets a punch in the mouth, and the next thing he's on his toes, he doesn't want to know. Mike Tyson, an interesting lesson here. I'll share this one. You look at Mike Tyson years ago when he used to come in there, he used to just dominate people through fear. He'd open those doors and all the guys were there with the towels, and walk in with an entourage of 20 people, and he'd like, fuck. And Evander Holyfield would come in, you know, he was 10 years older, nobody would give him a chance, and he'd come in there with his cut man, with a hat on and stuff, and he'd walk in there, and actually you look on paper, you're thinking, he's got no chance. And imagine in between rounds, his cornerman said, fucking hell, you're going to get filled in, look at how dangerous they are. But he didn't, he said, you know what, you've trained too hard for this shit. Don't worry about his entourage, they're not coming in here. You have trained too hard, you've got the experience, boom, 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 boom. And that's why Evander won. Belief. And your reason why, because without a reason why, forget it. For me, my reason why, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago when I started my own business off, I would have said, you know why? Because I want a fucking 10-bedroom mansion, and I want an Olympic-sized swimming pool, I want an Apache gunship with Hellfire rockets, you know, just shit. Now, the reason that I want to do it is for my children, and I'll tell you a story right now. And this is what people need to find. Your audience needs to know right now why they're doing it. What's that reason? Because if your only motivation is money, it's not enough. It's not enough, because when it gets tough, when you get a punch in the mouth, metaphorically speaking, right, you need a reason to get up, and if it's only because you want granite kitchen surfaces or 18-inch wheels, it's not enough for me. I promised my dad, he's gone now. My dad, when I was 8, he took me to Disneyland, and he promised me, he said to me that when you're older, you'll take your children. And I remember the first time that I took my kids, and I remember getting $5,000 on a credit card, and my wife said to me, we can't afford it. And I went, we can't afford not to. You know, the children are not going to turn around and go, you know what, Dad, do you remember when I was about 11, I think it was June 13, when you paid the council tax? Right, but what they will do is remember the first time that you bought the Mickey Mouse ears for $40 that you wore once for a photo opportunity with the embroidered name and boom. And that's what it's about. And life, business just got easier. That's what it's about. The whole thing merges. There's been this myth that there's a work-life balance. That, you know, don't get me wrong, the nice things in life are nice, but ultimately, you know, there's people over there right now probably working for a recruitment company, sat there now at 7 o'clock at night. You know, and then they'll get home at 11 o'clock and they'll be up at 6. To go and earn some money to do what? To then go and spend it in a pub or to go and buy granite kitchen surface. You know, I've retired right now. As of now, I've retired. I mean, seriously, what I've done is my day is I do what I want when I want. That's complete work-life balance. I see people who are conforming to a life that they don't want to do, people that are working later and longer for a business or a taskmaster that's not really, doesn't give two shits about them, to then go and spend that money that they've earned tonight to dampen down their feelings about the job. So they'll go out tonight as soon as they finish here and go and spend £100 in the bar. Great news, Brian, you've got a 3% pay rise. Well done on all your hard work, thank you very much. And you continue on that process. And it takes a brave person to actually go, you know what, I'm going to walk away from that, which is what I did. And people said I was mad, and every step of the way, when we started this interview, you said to me, you know, what have we done? Networking, you know, you're mad, Brad, you've got no chance. You can't call a book that, you're mad, you've got no chance. No one's going to take you seriously, you're mad. Actually, now, every single one of those, mad, I'm now a genius. So you've got to go through that. So somebody walking out of that job going, you know what, I've worked here for 3 years, I'm not feeling it. I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm walking. Everyone says, oh, you're mad, don't go on, keep your head down, don't say. And this is it, so at some point in your life, where that point's now, you're watching this right now, at some point in your life, you're gonna have to make a stand or don't. But be honest with yourself. If you're never gonna go for it, stop looking wistfully out the window of self-employment. If you can't be bothered going to the gym and you're overweight, don't keep talking about it. Either accept that you don't want to go to the gym and it's not a big enough deal for you and you're quite happy overeating or whatever it be, or do something about it. But you can't go to both, because these two directions, they don't go in the same way. And this is what we do. We end up, as I did for 31 years, looking at people with Range Rover Sports and going, God, it's all right for them. And that's what you need to do in life. Be honest about your situation. Stop blagging yourself and actually having, you know, 100 quid in wine or champagne to null the pain. Stop blagging yourself, because we're all guilty of that. Like my old days, you smoke weed, as I said last time. You know, to blank out my life shit, so I'm going to smoke some weed. Well, guess what? Your life shit, because you're smoking weed and it's self-perpetuating. And the moment that you stop smoking your weed or drinking your alcohol or doing whatever you're doing, it starts becoming painful. But once you start looking at that pain and the things that are causing you problems, you see the world in the real. And that's what I think fundamentally, I've got rid of my shields and I said, right, let's look at this world in its rawness and try and work out a way through it, rather than masking with drugs, drink and other stuff. And that's what I say to people. What's your excuse? If you know, a vast majority of people have not had a worse, you know, upbringing or baseline that I have. So that's the point. What's your excuse? Because that excuse that you're telling yourself, and you will be telling your excuse, well, you know, with this economic climate right now and the interest rates, shut up, get on with it. Who doesn't have a qualification to his name, not fucking one, not a single qualification to my name. And I've made it, well, I say I made it, I took a business from 25 grand in personal debt to a multi-million pound international one with no qualifications. So this is what I think I'm doing. I'm giving people hope. I'm saying, look, if I can do it, and I had the ideal conditions, dad, a heroin addict, council states and so forth, what's your excuse? And I think that's something about me. So I've changed massively. You know, when I was a young man, I was involved in all sorts of stuff, and maybe we get to that, maybe we don't. But I've changed massively, and I think people change, and I think the person that you was 10 years ago isn't the person that you are now. And I think that people need to just recognise that things change, and you might not be the person that you are now in 10 years' time. And that's quite important, that you develop. You come across people that don't develop, and they're the ones who, as life goes on, are miserable and so forth. And fundamentally, it's about change, and you need to be willing to change. And I resisted it for so long, and you know, Up until my teacher said to me I'd never amount to anything. And up until about 9 years ago, he was right. But I changed. You know, when you're on a plane, in the event of an accident, place your own oxygen mask on before you help other people. This is what people like me did in the olden days. I would use my oxygen on every single person to help everyone else at the expense of myself. And one of the things that I've realised is the more clout, the more power, the more strength, the more contacts, the more blah, 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 the more media I get, the more people I can help. But to your audience, honestly, get yourself together before you try trying to help everyone else.
It's well said.